3, hit it!
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to today's Caffeine for the Soul. If you're new to the kinds of ideas that I talk about, we've just released a new video at the time that I'm recording this called A Whole New Way of Thinking About Thought. And if you've already seen our video, A Whole New Way of Thinking About Thought, this is a whole new way of thinking about a whole new way of thinking about thought. So check it out on our YouTube channel. What I want to talk about today are the two most common ways that we seem to think about and deal with love in our lives and in the world. And then a third way, which very few people seem to think about or talk about, but seems to me to be closer to how love actually works. And the first sort of metaphor for love is that love is a commodity. And I don't mean in a tawdry sense. It's just that, love is something that I have or I don't have. It's something I can lose or something I can get. So I do all sorts of things in my life to try to get love back if I've lost love, or keep love. And so this precious commodity called love is something that a lot of my behavior is driven by trying to get, keep, maintain. Now, I remember the first time that I had that notion challenged, and I was probably 20 years old, and I was working in a psychology bookshop in London, and there was a book, and the title of the book was Love is a Verb. Now, in fairness, I never read the book, but that notion did something for me, because suddenly I started to think of love not so much as a commodity that I could have or lose, that I could get, that I could try to keep, as something that I was either doing or not doing. And that felt like a more powerful, a more empowered way of thinking about love. Because if love is a verb, then whether or not I'm loving is down to whether or not I'm doing loving. If I am loving someone, if I am caring for them, if I am acting kindly towards them, if I am actively wanting the best for them, then love is present. So in that sense, love is a choice. Love is something that I can do or not do. I can love you or not love you. And that kind of has nothing to do with you. And I remember one of my best friends was having a conversation with me about the girl of his dreams. And he said, I just, I love her. I actually want her, we probably should go out first, but I want to marry her. I want her to be my wife. But I don't want to waste my time. And I said, what do you mean? And he said, well, if she doesn't love me, I don't want to love her. And I said, well, that seems weird to me. And he said, what do you mean? And I said, well, why would you let whether or not you loved her be up to her? Now, I'm not talking about being inappropriate in any way, shape, or form. But it didn't seem to me that it should matter particularly what she was currently doing, if love was a verb, what he would do. In other words, there's no reason for him not to love her just because she was not in that moment loving him. And something about it landed for him. And the next time I saw him, he was wearing a wedding ring. And I said, wait, you didn't? And he said, no. He said, it's my mom's old wedding ring. But I decided that I'm going to love her and see what happens. And what happened is 20 years later, I have 2 godchildren and a very happy friend. But ultimately, in the past few years, I've come to see that I don't think love is either a noun or a verb. In other words, I don't think love is a property of having or a property of doing. Love seems to me to be a quality of being. One of the big questions in life, perhaps the biggest question in life, is who am I? And when we first try to answer that question, we usually answer it with our resume. I'm this tall, and I weigh this much, and this is the color eyes that I have, and these are the things that I have done, and that is who I am. But we kind of know when we get to know people that they're not what they do, and they're not what they have, and they're not even what they look like. There's something more than that. And we fall in love with them, not with their resume. In relationships that work, I know there are exceptions to that. Well, that essential themness is their being. And when you are being who you are, one of the descriptions that fits that simple feeling of being is love. It's not love for. It's not love for a purpose or necessarily for a particular thing. It's just part of the feeling of being who you are. And there is nothing you need to do to be love. And there is nothing you need to have to be love. And rather than overthink it, and maybe even by now I've overthought it for you, and so you don't have to overthink it, as an experiment this week, play with the idea that love is not something you have or lose. Love is not something you do or don't do. That love is a part of your essential nature. And just notice what happens to the way you are with others, to the way you are with the people that you are closest to in your life, and to the way you are with people that you don't even know. And just let that experiment in being love unfold in your life and see what happens. Have fun, learn heaps, happy exploring, and I'll talk with you soon.